Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, you make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week, and if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. Today's tutorial is extra special. We're making a stylish pair of crochet shorts with a flattering V-shaped waistband. They're comfy, customizable, and the perfect handmade addition to your summer wardrobe. Now you probably already know the drill, but just in case you're new, welcome! I share modern crochet patterns and tutorials you're sure to love with new uploads every Wednesday and Sunday, so tell a friend and don't forget to tap the bell and subscribe so you never miss an upload. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to support the channel and keep these tutorials free. So without further ado, here's how to make your own V-band crochet shorts. For this project, any category 4 yarn will work. I used a total of 185 grams of yarn. That's 335 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 5 and 5.5 millimeter hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order, and enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us if you prefer sweet or sour candy. Sour is always a good time. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 3 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, and half double crochet. This tutorial is made for a size small. You can adjust for your size, and we'll explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting these shorts started, we're all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Then we're all going to grab our 5 millimeter hook and start off by making a chain the height that we like for the waistband to be. I like for mine to be just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 10. Now that we have our chain, we're all going to block off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 does not count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. Now into the chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're all going to insert with a slip stitch. So insert, when we have these 2 loops on our hook, we're going to yarn over and gently pull through everything on our hook. We want to make sure that we're not tugging through too tightly, otherwise the following row will be too tight to work into. Again, into that following chain, insert, yarn over, pull through everything on our hook, and continue with 1 slip stitch into every chain. We've made our way down with our row 1. Now to get started on our row 2, we're going to chain 1 and flip our work. That chain 1 is just our turning chain. Now 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Inserting into the first stitch from our previous row, we're going to insert into that back loop only. Yarn over, gently pull through everything. Once more, next stitch is back loop, insert, yarn over, gently pull through everything. From here, continue with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Then at the end of the row, we're all going to chain 1, flip our work, and repeat. We're going to continue on with our slip stitch row until we have an even number of rows that can reach from the center of our body, around the widest part of our hip, to mid-back. Then I will meet everyone back. So we have just completed the length of 1/2 of our waistband. Now, I have a total of 72 rows. This width is just about 11 inches or 28 centimeters unstretched. Now, before we move on to the second half, we're all going to want to insert our stitch markers into our 2 middle stitches that's along the same edge as our hook. So since I had a total of 72 side rows, my 2 middle stitches is my 36 and 37 side row, so I went ahead and inserted my stitch markers into there. And now that we have 1 completed, we're going to be making a second one, including our stitch markers into our 2 middle stitches, exactly the same as the first one. Once the second one is completed, then we can seam everything together. So when it comes to seaming our 2 waistband panels together, what we're going to do is insert our hook into the 2 bottom corners, making sure that the stitch markers are along the same outer edge. Then we're going to insert our hook into the corner stitch of one of our panels and into the second panel as well. Then we're going to chain 1 to secure. Then we're going to single crochet both panels together at the same time. That is going to help us seam it together, but also clean up the edge. So what we're going to do is find that first available stitch into the front panel. We're going to insert, Then finding that first side row within the bottom panel, we're going to insert in through there, and we're going to single crochet everything together. Now we do want to make sure that we're inserting a stitch marker into that first single crochet. And we're going to do that again. So finding that next stitch into the front panel, insert. Next side row within the back panel, we are going to insert and single crochet. Then we're just going to continue on with this until we don't have to work into both of our panels anymore. Then I'll meet you back. So we have just single crocheted across the top, both our top and bottom band for our waistband. And all we're going to do is put one single crochet into every side row, making our way all the way down. And we want to make sure that we're inserting our stitch markers into the same middle stitches that we have for this side. And I'll meet everyone back once we have the same amount of chains that we made when we got started on our waistband. So just as a refresher, I made a chain 10, so I'll meet you back when I have a total of 10 side rows left, because then we can connect the other side of the waistband together as well. So I've made my way all the way down, and I have left my last 10 stitches. Remember, I left 10 stitches because I originally made a chain 10 for my waistband. Now we're going to take the other side, and we're going to continue to single crochet it together, seaming it together at the same time. Then what I'm going to do is just do my following single crochet, working in through both panels. So I'm going to take my top panel right here. I'm going to insert my hook in through that first available stitch, then also into that next side row within the back panel. So this is mine right here. I'm going to insert and single crochet everything together. So pull through 2. Again, into that next available stitch into the front panel, insert. Next available side row underneath, and we're going to single crochet everything together. So pretty much the same way that we started off this single crochet row. We're going to continue doing this until we don't have any more side rows left to work into. Then once we reach this corner right here, I will meet everyone back. Now we have just finished up the single crochet row on one side of our waistband. We do want to make sure that we have the same amount of stitches as total amount of side rows that we made for one half of our waistband. So for those of you that have my numbers, I had a total of 72 side rows. So from our first stitch marker all the way over to our last stitch, which we do want to make sure that we're inserting a stitch marker into that last stitch as well, I should have 72 stitches, and I do. Now from here, we're going to repeat the single crochet row, working our way down the other side. So just into that following available side row, we're going to insert into that next side row, next available stitch within the bottom panel, and insert with a single crochet. And since this is the first stitch on this side, we want to make sure that we're inserting a stitch marker into that stitch as well. From here, we're going to continue combining our two panels, then one single crochet into every stitch, making sure that we're inserting our stitch markers into our two middle stitches. Once we've made our way all the way down, making sure that we are combining these rows as well, slip stitch into that chain space, then do a chain up of 1 and cut. We should still end up on this side with the same amount of single crochets as rows that we made. Then I'll meet you back. We have just completed our single crochet row. Now from here, we're going to get started on the length. So we're going to want to try on our piece. Now, really quickly, when we try this on, the points of our piece is going to be at the middle of our body, and these side stitch markers along the smooth side of our waistband is going to be at our sides. When we try it on, it is definitely going to fit a little wonky. This may fold in on itself, or it may not even lay flat, but when the rest of the shorts are completed, it should even out. But what we're going to do is placing the point of our piece at the center of our body, making sure that it's sitting where we'd like for the shorts to sit when the whole thing is completed. We are going to switch out to our 5.5 millimeter hook. Then we're going to insert our hook into one of our middle stitch marker stitch, not the stitch markers on the side, then make a chain the length that we'd like for the shorts to be. You can make this as long or as short as you'd like. I'd like for this to be just about 7 inches or 18 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 35. Now that we have our chain, we're all going to do a half double crochet row. Start by blocking off that last chain and do a chain 2. That chain 2 is our turning chain. Then yarn over, preparing for a half double crochet. Insert our hook into that third chain from our hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3. Again, yarn over, into that following chain, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, and continue with one half double crochet into every chain, leaving the last one. So we've made our way all the way up, leaving that last chain. I did take out that stitch marker stitch that our chain was worked into, and now all we're going to do is close off the row with an increase of 2 half double crochets. So yarn over into that last stitch with 1 half double crochet, into that same last chain with a second half double crochet. Now our row 1 is completed, and we should all have one more stitch than chains that we made. Now we're going to connect it into the base. And the way we're going to connect the first row is going to be different than all the other rows. So just to do this first one together, we're just going to find that next available stitch into the base. So since we're worked into this stitch, into that next one, we're going to insert with a slip stitch. So insert, pull through everything on our hook. Now remember that that slip stitch doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Now since we're here, we are going to work our way up to the following row. So we're going to slip stitch up the following 2 stitches into the base as well. So there's 1, then into that following stitch into the base, we're going to insert with another slip stitch. Now none of these slip stitches into the base actually count as a stitch, and we're going to flip our work. Now from here, we're going to start the row with an increase of 2 back loop half doubles. So yarn over, inserting our hook into the last stitch from our previous row, not worked into any of the slip stitches into the base, we're going to insert with an increase of 2 back loop half doubles. So there's 1 into that same first stitch with a second back loop half. Then from here, continue with 1 back loop half double crochet into the rest of our stitches. Our first 2 rows are completed. Now we're going to do the following 2 just to make sure we all have it down. So at the end of the row, chain 2, flip our work. Put 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch, leaving that last one. Our first 3 rows are nearly complete. We should have all left that last stitch in our row 3. Now we're going to close it with an increase of 2 back loop halves. So starting with the yarn over, into that last stitch is back loop from our previous row with 1 back loop half, into that same stitch with a second back loop half. And that's it. From here, we're going to connect it into the base. Now this way that we're going to connect this row is going to be the way that we're going to connect it for the rest of the piece. So what we're going to do is count up 1, 2 stitches. Into that second stitch into the base, we're all going to insert with a slip stitch. Now remember that the slip stitch into the base doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch up the following 2 stitches into the base. There's 1, into that following with a second, and flip our work. Then starting off this row with an increase of 2 back loop halves again, yarn over, into the last stitch from our previous row, remembering not to work into any of those slip stitches into the base. Insert with an increase of 2 back loop halves, then continue with 1 back loop half into every stitch until we reach the end of the row. We have just completed our first 4 rows. From here, we're going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until we are worked into our first middle stitch marker stitch. Then I'll meet you back so we can do the same thing on the other side. We have just made our way down and have worked into our first stitch marker stitch. Now we're going to mirror everything we did here on the other side. So for those of you that are along the outer edge like me, we're going to chain 2, flip our work, put 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch, leaving the last 2 stitches. For those of you that have ended along the base, you're just going to work your way up to the following row the same way that we have been doing this entire time. Flip your work, then we can do that decrease together in the following clip. We've made our way down, and now we're going to do our first decrease row. Now I have taken out my 2 middle stitch markers, and what we're going to do is yarn over, insert your hook into that second to last back loop, pull through, then into that last back loop and pull through. We should all have a total of 4 loops on our hook, then yarn over, pull through all 4, then we're going to connect it into the base. That's going to be done the same way as our previous rows. So count up the next 2 available stitches, slip stitch into that second. Remember that slip stitch still does not count as a stitch. Then we are going to work our way up to the following row. Again, same way that we normally been doing. So slip stitch up the following 2 available stitches and flip our work. Now starting this row with a decrease, we're all going to yarn over, insert your hook into that first stitch from our previous row's back loop, pull through, next stitch's back loop, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 4, then continue with 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch. We've just completed our first 2 decrease rows. From here, continue to repeat these 2 rows until we're worked into our following stitch marker stitch. Once we are, do a chain up of 1 and cut, then I'll meet you back. So we have just made our way all the way down and worked into our following stitch marker stitch. Now we all should have ended along the bottom, so what we're going to do is chain 1, cut, reinsert our 5.5mm hook into that following stitch marker stitch. Then we're going to repeat everything that we just did here on the other side. Then we should have 2 panels completed. Then I'll meet everyone back so we can get started on the inner thigh. We have just completed both of our pant legs, and now what we're going to do from here is our inner thigh connector. So how we're going to do our inner thigh connector is first try on our shorts. We're then going to make sure that the waistband is sitting where we'd like for it to sit when the shorts are completed. Then insert our stitch marker into any stitch from the bottom from where our working yarn is for the height that we'd like the inseam of the shorts to be. I'd like for mine to be roughly 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I inserted my stitch marker into the 12th stitch from the bottom. Then we're just going to do a half double crochet row all the way up. So from where we're at, chain 2, flip our work, 1 back loop, half double crochet into every stitch until we reach our stitch marker. So we've just made our way all the way up, working into our stitch marker stitch. Now from here, chain 2, flip our work, 1 back loop half into every stitch again. From here, we're just going to repeat our back loop half double crochet row with no increases, no decreases, until we have a portion that can reach from the front of our pant leg, so from where we're at, along the inside of our thigh, until we reach the back panel that we have for our pant leg as well. I'll meet everyone back right after an even number row so that we'll be along the bottom, then we can seam it up together. So I've just completed my inner thigh connector. I have a total of 8 rows. This width is just about 3 inches or 8 centimeters. Now from here, we're going to fold our work wrong side out so that we can seam it to our other pant leg. So my work is already flipped wrong side out. We should all be looking at the inside of our single crochet row. We're going to insert our hook into the corner stitch of our pant leg and into our working yarn, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Then we're going to find that next stitch into the front panel, insert, next stitch into the back panel, insert, and single crochet around everything. Just once more, next stitch into the front panel, insert, next stitch into the back panel, insert, and single crochet, and we're going to continue doing this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut, then repeat on the other side. Now that both of our inner thigh connectors are completed, the next thing we're going to do is seam everything up. So first things first, we're going to make sure that our work is still flipped wrong side out. Then we're going to insert our hook into the 2 stitches that we have that's coming out of the waistband that both sides of our pant legs are coming out of. Then we're going to insert our yarn onto our hook. Then we're going to find that first available stitch into the front panel, first available stitch into the back panel, and we're going to single crochet around everything. So the same seam that we did for the inner thigh. We're going to continue doing this, making our way all the way down until we reach our inner thigh connector. Then I'll meet you back to show you how we're going to work into the top of that. We've just made our way down with the front half of our seam. Now we're going to single crochet into the tops of our inner thigh connectors. So making sure that our work is still flipped wrong side out, we're going to take the tops of these and purse them together. And working our way across both of our inner thigh connectors at the same time, we're just going to be putting 1 single crochet into every side row. So this is my first side row right here. I'm going to find that top loop, insert my hook, find that same first side row within the back panel, insert in through there, and single crochet. Again, next side row within the front, insert in through that top loop, next side row within the back, insert, and single crochet, and that's it. We're going to continue on with this across the tops of our inner thigh connector, then working our way back up the other side of our shorts. Again, just like this seam, single crocheting into both panels at the same time. Once we made our way all the way up, slip stitch into the 2 stitches that's worked into the waistband, then do a chain up of 1 and cut. We have just completed seaming up the shorts, and now from here we are actually technically all done. Now, if you guys would like to add a drawstring as well, that is completely up to you. We will not be, but what you can do is just make a chain for the length that you'd like for the drawstring to be and just weave it in and out of the entirety of the waistband. Once we have that completed, we are all done. Last thing we have to do is simply weave in all of our ends. And there you have it, y'all. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch you on the next one. Bye.